There are many reasons why Georgia football has completely dominated the past few years. You could argue the most important fact has been the building of the offensive and defensive line, the great running backs, the great coaching, or the leadership of the quarterback position. While Stetson Bennett may not have been the most physically daunting player in the world, he always seemed to get the job done and led Georgia to back-to-back national championships. Not many quarterbacks in general can say they've done that, but as Georgia moves into their next quarterback era, Carsen Beck is ready for that task. He was a big-time recruit coming out of high school and has been learning and getting better the past few years and should become their next superstar and an eventual draft pick. But the guy behind him, in my opinion, has even more potential, had a ridiculous high school career, and is the most insane quarterback that Georgia has had in a couple of years. His name is Brock Vandagriff. He was a 5-star recruit, one of the top high school quarterbacks ever, and is someone who at one point was considered the #1 quarterback in his high school class. In today's video, we're going to talk about the Georgia Bulldogs' insane backup quarterback, Brock Vandagriff. We're going to go through his rise, his Georgia career so far, and why the guy is so insane. But before we get started, quickly be sure to leave a like if you want to support today's video, subscribe if you're new and love college football content, and let me know what player, team, topic, or situation I could cover next. Now let's get started and talk about Brock Vandagriff. So going back in time, growing up in Georgia, the Vandagriff family and their location helped Brock develop a dream of being a star quarterback in the SEC one day. His mother went to Auburn, and he grew up a big fan of the Tigers. His dad grew up in Tennessee and was a big fan of the Volunteers. Early on, Brock was a big deal, and Greg Vandagriff saw potential in his son when Brock was only 10 years old. His dad came from a defensive background, but he quickly figured out that his son wasn't made for defense. On defense, he'd be able to catch up to the guy with the ball, but not snag the flag. But when it came to passing the ball, he had a knack for that. He became a great young quarterback, and he was actually so good in middle school that his dad was worried about becoming one of those crazy parents, all that quarterback camp hoopla, and also placing unrealistic expectations on his son. But as high school approached, he later helped him with film, mechanics, and the early recruiting process. There was a moment in 7th grade when the mental side of the game clicked for him though. Apparently in the morning, he'd always aggravate his younger sisters during breakfast, so his mom, as a punishment, made him go in with his dad to football practice and training early. This would end up changing his life. He'd now get to the weight room at 5:30 and started to train with future players. This was at Woodward Academy, and he fell in love with the weight room and trained with future Georgia running back Elijah Holyfield while he was there. At the time, he was only in middle school, but he took everything super seriously because he wanted to achieve big things. He said, quote, "It all goes back to the big goal, and that is making it to the NFL. Every rep I do in the weight room, every lap I do on the track, that's motivated by that final good." By the time Vandagriff reached high school, his dad moved on to be the head coach at Prince Avenue Christian School, which is located in Bogart, Georgia, just outside of Athens. After playing receiver as a freshman, Vandagriff started as the quarterback for the Wolverines as a sophomore, throwing for 3,100 yards, 28 touchdowns, and running for over 1,000 yards and 23 scores. Because of this, schools started to look at him, and his first scholarship offer came from Miami. Mark Richt knew the family when they attended church in the same town, and this was a huge deal. He was starting to blow up into one of the top players in the nation, and also had the right mindset to be great. His dad said, quote, "He's a terrific competitor, and he wants to win. He knows none of that comes easy, and nothing's going to come from sitting around." Brock would end up getting better and better, and become both a local and national legend because of his insane numbers at Prince Avenue. But one thing was still missing. He was successful and a 5-star, but a state championship was his ultimate dream. Neither him or his school had won that in any sport, and as a senior, he got one final chance. He ended up doing it for his dad, as they were heavily favored and beat Trinity Christian 41-21, and Brock would throw for 262 yards and 2 touchdowns. He said, quote, "That was without a doubt the best day of my life. I've dreamed about it for a long time." Vandagriff would end his career in elite territory. He became the player of the year as he threw for 4,169 yards and 46 touchdowns. Ultimately, he also passed for over 10,000 yards and 100 touchdowns for his career, and only 6 Georgia players had ever done that at the time. The National QB Club named Vandagriff their National High School Quarterback of the Year, and he was also named Mr. Georgia Football. His career totals were accomplished despite missing a couple games during his junior year, and also playing wide receiver as a freshman. But where was he going to play his college ball? Well, in the main part of his recruitment as a sophomore, he was known as a runner as well, which is what attracted him to Oklahoma. He decided to commit there in June of 2019 and chose them over Auburn, Florida, and Georgia. It all seemed to be well with him and the Sooners in the fall of 19, but something would change. Shortly after his commitment to the Sooners, he was named the top overall player in the class of 21 by Rivals, but then, after spending time with his family over the holidays, he decided he was going to make a change. He wanted to be closer to home, he wanted his family to be able to watch him play, and he started to take notice of what Georgia was doing down the road. He decided to decommit, and then from there, it looked like Tennessee, Florida, Auburn, and Georgia were the top schools for him, and one choice became very clear. As I said earlier, he was a runner, and this also helped lead him back to Georgia. Oklahoma ended up getting Caleb Williams, and after the 2019 season, Kirby Smart ramped up his recruitment of Brock and emphasized that a change was coming to Georgia's offense. He decided to hire offensive coordinator Todd Monken, and that came on January 17th. Vandagriff decided to commit to Georgia on January 21st. You could say that played a factor. He followed a great quarterback recruiting pipeline for Kirby, as recently he had landed 5 stars in Jacob Eason, Justin Fields, Jake Fromm, and JT Daniels, and other blue chippers such as Jamie Newman, DeJuan Mathis, and Carsen Beck. This was a major get for Georgia, and everyone was excited to see what he could do down the road. What did the scouts have to say? Well, one said, quote, "He can literally make every throw. Almost every ball he throws is on a line, which speaks to his arm strength, but what is even more impressive is his accuracy. He not only completes a high percentage of his passes, but throws to the correct shoulder of the receiver, which allows him to make a run after the catch." During 2020, he was the ringleader of the 21 class and met with every Georgia signee and tons of big-time recruits. There were a ton of limitations at the time, and this showed his leadership ability. According to 24/7 Sports, Vandagriff was a 5-star recruit, the number 4 quarterback, and the 17th best player in the class of 2021. So, how did he end up doing at Georgia? If you're like me, you love fantasy football. Unfortunately, it's not super popular in the college world, probably because there are so many players. Well, the sponsor of today's video, Squad Blitz, offers a new twist on traditional fantasy football with the ability to draft teams instead of players. Each and every week during the college football season, we'll give you an opportunity to start a passing team, a rushing team, and a defensive team. From there, you'll earn points based on your team's performance, and this will allow you to have a new level of college football engagement by competing weekly with your friends on a chosen squad. This app is free to play on Apple, Android, and the web, and new league owners are eligible to win a promotional pack, which will include a shirt, coffee mug, and custom Squad Blitz trophy. To be eligible, you must be one of 12 owners to complete a draft before week 1, post about it on social media, and tag Squad Blitz. You also have to have at least 6 members in your league, and personally, I'm going to do this, so if you want to play in a league with me, go ahead and click that link down in the description, and let's go ahead and do some fantasy football for this season. Thank you to Squad Blitz for sponsoring today's video. When Brock arrived at Georgia, Kirby had immediate praise for him. He said he's not just a pocket guy, but was super mobile, made great decisions, and slung the ball really well. They thought he was mobile, athletic, could make every throw, had a great demeanor, and was a great leader. He checked off every box, and we all know how Kirby handles the quarterback position. If you gain his loyalty, you're going to get more than enough chances. We saw that with Stetson Bennett. Some were worried about Vandagriff's high school competition, but Smart immediately shrugged that off. Vandagriff would end up redshirting, becoming the 3rd-string quarterback behind Stetson Bennett and Carsen Beck. In total, he'd appear in 1 game, throwing 1 incomplete pass against Charleston Southern. Going into 2022, Beck decided to stick around instead of transfer, and Bennett decided to use his extra year of eligibility. They were fresh off a national championship, and while some were hoping they'd get a chance to see the young Vandagriff play last year, it wouldn't end up happening. He'd register 3 total stats, having a pass and a run against Samford, and 1 incompletion against South Carolina. To this date, Vandagriff has yet to complete a pass, but honestly, he hasn't even played. Going into 2023, Brock Vandagriff was known as Mike Bobo's dream quarterback. This is what Aaron Murray apparently had to say a couple weeks ago, and for a while, it looked like there was a chance at him winning the job. One thing we do know is that Kirby is very loyal to quarterbacks though, and with Carsen Beck being in the system for 3 seasons, it was going to be his job to lose. It was apparently a very competitive battle, but a couple of days ago, Kirby would name Beck the starting quarterback. Right now, Vandagriff will be that backup option, and they'll also have Gunnar Stockton on the roster. Some think there's a chance that Brock Vandagriff transfers, but based on everything I've read and what he said in the past, it doesn't look like that is going to happen. I think Carsen Beck sees himself as an NFL prospect after this year, and if he has a good season, I think he'll get drafted, and Brock could easily take over in 2024. I also think that Brock has more potential than Beck, so if Carsen struggles early on, we could see him getting thrown into the mix. With how easy Georgia's schedule is in the month of September, I also expect Vandagriff to get multiple reps, but there is some concern on the horizon as they have 5-star Dylan Raiola coming in 2024. Not every quarterback can play, and either him or Stockton is eventually going to enter the portal. As we all know, Vandagriff originally committed to Lincoln Riley, so some have been wondering if he could end up transferring to USC and be the quarterback between Caleb Williams and Malachi Nelson. I don't know about that though, and that's just a rumor. Honestly, I'm a little bit bummed that Brock isn't going to be playing, as the guy put up historic numbers in high school, seemingly checks every single box, has the look with the long hair and beard, and I think has more potential than any Georgia quarterback in recent memory. The guy is absolutely insane, but he's gonna have to wait his turn, and we'll have to see what happens. But what do you guys think? If you're a Georgia fan, what do you think of Brock Vandagriff? What do you think of this year's quarterback situation? And who's another player, quarterback, or backup I could take a look at next? Be sure to let me know down below. Leave a like if you want to support today's video, subscribe if you're new, and check out all my other videos on the end screen. Hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.